Corbin as the tailback. Play action. Travis, bootleg, getting to the corner and in. Stronger and feels better. And so do Florida State fans. They're up on the Irish.
And that, my friends, it had to be one of the highlights of the season. Welcome to Seminole Sideline 365. You've got Bruce here, and you've got Keith there. And
how's it going?
Good. Looks like, are we frozen up here? Or are we
You're
good?
frozen. You're frozen. I'm good. You're frozen.
Why am I frozen up?
Bad PC.
Yeah, I
keep talking. So. We can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, I'm going to try to work out the bugs. We want to welcome everybody to our...
Looks like we lost the old man over here with the Florida internet, but I will welcome you all to the show. This is our inaugural Florida State show, and tonight's topic is Jordan Travis, as you can see on the topic cast today. So, you know, what we're passionate about is Florida State football, and that is one of the biggest questions we have is, can he stay healthy, and what is the situation at quarterback? Right now, he is the starter and the sole starter, and right now they've brought nobody in behind him. And so that is really the topic today, and this is a critical year for the program. They won 3 games 2 years ago, 5 wins season ago, and this is what many describe as a make-or-break year for the coach. And so this is what me and Seminole Sideline are going to be talking about today is, can Mike in the program make that next step? And is Jordan one to do that? And if he gets hurt, what does the program do? Because, you know, without a quarterback, you can't win games in college football anymore, whether it's college, the pros. And so that's what we're going to discuss today. So it looks like we got Seminole Sideline back.
Hey.
And, you good? You fixed that internet? You paid that extra $20 to get the
No. You know, first of all, you know, I don't hard.
You get one of those AOL CDs back, so you could get the AOL back online.
Wait. I took my vinyl records back there, KB. Yeah. Hey, KB, listen. First of all, I'm not hardwired in. Are you hardwired in your studio there?
I am.
Are you serious? Are you seriously?
Just like most Americans, yes, I am.
I'm doing the Wi-Fi. I usually have good Wi-Fi. You know, I don't have any problem on the iRacing, which I was doing at Daytona this week. iRacing, okay. You know, I got 11th place out of 30 yesterday.
I don't think they came to hear about your simulated racing against computers.
In the future they might. But listen, hey, it's good to be back. Technically, we're gonna have a few bumps here now and then, but we'll figure it out. But really, what's important is the content, as KB has already said. And tonight's topic is one. We're going to stay very focused, and this program is going to be a little bit different from others because right now, we don't have any sponsors. We don't looking for sponsors. We're not going to.
Yes, we are. We are looking for sponsors. So if you want to sponsor the show starting today, please hit us up. But go on, please.
Okay. But we are going to be a raw, unfiltered program on Florida State sports. Okay. We're going to ask the questions that sometimes other people who are too tied in may not ask, but we're going to do it in a professional manner. So I think KB has already told us, you already said, KB, that we're focused on the quarterback, and you already kind of took us down the road of some of my concerns, but let me express that.
All right.
Okay. You can see I got my nice Seminole hats on here. I'm ready to go, brother. Is this. Nobody seems to be that focused on this quarterback situation. Now, here's from all the sources and the research I've done in the last few weeks. And first of all, let me talk a little bit about my background. let me talk a little bit about my background. Now, what do I bring to this show besides good looks, some humor, and a lot of legacy facts? I was at Florida State from 1970, fall of 1970, to graduating in June of 1974. Okay. I saw every game. And in those days, we had a freshman team, just freshmen. They played other schools because they could not play on the varsity. So I'm going to bring a lot of legacy to this.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
Are you still there with that background? I can see the bricks in the back. Are you still at the school today? Is that why the Wi-Fi and everything is so bad? Are you still on the ground today broadcasting live?
I'm at the dope, brother. I'm at the dope. No, I'm not really at the dope. I'm at my house. I'm playing around with some stuff here. And we'll get better at that. But let me tell you, I'm going to bring the legacy thing. You're going to bring the millennium thing. You haven't seen some of the games I've seen. You don't even know how Florida State got on the map. And a lot of viewers on a lot of these Seminole shows, there's a lot of Seminole shows out there. We don't have to start naming them tonight. But, sometimes they're kind of soft towing things. So what I want to do, let me get back to this quarterback thing. If I was Coach Mike, right? If I'm Coach Mike, I've got to be having problems sleeping at night. And the reason is the QB. Now, he has, without a doubt, saddled up with our quarterback, right? He has saddled up to Jordan Travis, and I love Jordan Travis. I think this guy gives 110% of his ability. The question is, and you showed the plays up front.
I have the stats on the screen. The stats are on the screen. He's already broken records at Florida State. Without him, we don't win 5 games last season. There's no way we win even 5 games.
There's no doubt. Without him, we don't win 5 games. The question is, why didn't we win more than 5 games? Is some of that on him, or is it on the offensive line, which is another concern?
I don't think it's even that. I think it's a question of receiver talent and development. And it's the games that Travis had to leave, the games he couldn't play in, or he got knocked out for 2 or 3 series, and he couldn't, there's a consistency there. So I think it's less on what he can do. If you look at his stats that I have on the screen, he's only, he threw for 1,500 yards. That's average. That's ranked 6th or 7th. No, in every statistical category in the ACC, he ranks 5th or 6th, which is mediocre. But the ACC has great quarterbacks every single year. He's going to do enough to keep you in every single ball game. It's whether the other player is going to do, whether the receiver is going to do. Are they going to be able to make that great catch? Are they going to? I think who says it? Are they going to make the HBO catch, the helper brother out catch? It's RG3 says that, and the players at FSU, the receivers do not make HBO catches. They do not make those types of catches that can go over the top. And it's also, we haven't seen that play from the running backs yet. Corbin made some of those. He's left. So what are the other players around him? But then it's also when Jordan gets hurt, he plays a style of football that is prone to getting hurt. He runs, at a pace that he can get hurt. And so if he misses a game, he misses a series, they lose that play, that threat of the run. And you bring a guy like Mackenzie Milton in last year who almost lost his leg, and they knew that wasn't a threat anymore. So he was so one-dimensional that the defense never had to respect that ability. And so other than outside the Notre Dame game where Mackenzie almost won that game at the end, Mackenzie never did anything else. And so defenses never had to respect him. So I think it's really not on Jordan. We know what he can do. We know his potential. And I think he's even going to get better this season. It's what happens if you don't have Jordan? What's around him? What are the running backs going to do? Who is the backups? What can they do? And I think that's the biggest question right now. We know what Tate has. Tate is not going to ever be a starter at Florida State. He's writing because he has a free scholarship. And I don't blame him. If the backup quarterback's the best position on any team, because you get paid, get a free education. and he probably has friends, so he has no reason. Why should he transfer? He has a free
Okay,
ride all the way through graduation.
Yeah, let's. That's a lot of information, and I agree with most of it. I think you touched on a couple of things. Okay, so we know Jordan Travis in the spring, which is coming up. Spring ball is coming up in about 2.5 weeks here. Okay, I'm about 3 hours from Tallahassee. We're bringing this in from a fan perspective. Now, Jordan is going to wear a green jersey. Okay, there's no way this guy is going to get hit during the spring or the fall. He is all, Coach Mike is all in on this guy because, and let me
He's betting his career.
Yeah, well, his career could be on the line.
It is.
Now, his career's on the line with Jordan. Jordan, to me, he's an average QB in Division I play. He can make some dynamic plays with his legs. I think defenses look at him more as a runner than a passer, and they're going to make him try to throw the ball. Now, I could spend probably an hour on this. Hang on for a minute. Hang on, KB. Hang on. I'm not done. The concern is also what you touched on. And that concern is when he gets hurt. This is not if he gets hurt. There's no way a running quarterback, and sometimes he doesn't show the ability to really how to get down, the Tom Brady, how to get down type thing. But Tom Brady never runs anyways. So the concern here is what happens when he gets hurt. Now, you're putting your whole season on Travis. In the first game of the season against you know who, right?
Yeah, LSU.
LSU, if he goes down, and they know if he goes down, the game is over. And I'm not putting that bad mouth on our other quarterbacks, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the game is over, and the season could be over without any experience behind him. We have zero experience behind Travis. Okay, Jordan Travis. We have zero. That would keep me awake at night. Does that keep you awake at night?
I mean, it does.
How can you sit there and just say it does? I think it would be a nightmare for me. I think about it a lot.
I think the thing that is one, I think the injury stuff is overstated.
Whoa! What do you mean overstated?
Because last year he only missed 1.5 games. One of it was due to injury. He left that game at the end due to an injury. And the other one, I think, was due to illness, like a flu or something like that. Which in today's, you get, because he tests negative and then they have to throw, like, those things you can't control. He hasn't actually missed a lot of games due to injuries themselves.
Yeah, but
they designed the plays.
He's still out of the game. He's still out of the game. No matter
I get
what
that.
it is.
I get that. But there's a lot of teams today don't have 2 starters on teams anymore because it's just the nature of football. Most guys don't stick around. You're not going to have 2 starting caliber quarterbacks anymore, right? So it's tough to build depth anymore at this level of the transfer portal. So I don't think that's unrealistic. But I agree with you that knowing that you don't have anyone with significant snaps behind him is concerning. And Mike last year, I think, failed. He tried to do that. He tried to bring Mackenzie Milton in for a solid backup, and 2, to provide some push for Jordan. Because just like any profession, you do want to bring some guy that's going to push someone to make themselves better, right? Right now, Jordan is kind of in a position where he's like, I have the spot. Knowing him, he's going to push himself to get better, right? He wants to be the best. He wants to go to the NFL, wants to get better. But there is no one pushing him to get better in that position right now, too. That's another thing you have to think.
Well, he's going to push himself because even though he's number one going in, he's the number one guy, he's going to push himself on pride.
I agree with that.
I think he's going to push himself even more now because he is carrying the team and he's carrying the season.
But with that, too, to your point, and to that point, does he start to, if you don't bring a backup in after spring, because that's the only thing that's going to happen, we can discuss that, does he start to press? And I think at times he has pressed during games because he knows if he doesn't make the play, no one else can make the play. And that leads to bad decision making. That leads to him to run for that extra 2 yards and get hit. And so I think that's where he leads himself into those bad decision making plays where he does get hit because he feels he has to put the team on his shoulders in order to win games because there aren't many other playmakers available. There's not that star receiver that's going to make that catch if he throws it up there for a jump ball, or there's that dynamic playmaker on the running side that's going to do it for him. I think that's part of it. And so I don't think that's going to get solved anymore in the spring. There's not some, and he's got to do it on himself, but that's a whole nother conversation. But getting back to this, I think the point is they're going to, I think Mike has to bring someone in during the spring. It's not going to be a starting caliber guy. It's going to be someone who has significant snaps of some sort, probably a year's worth of snaps behind him, but knows they're not going to be the starter. But someone who can step in and lead you to a win against a ACC caliber, mid-standing caliber team like a UVA or something like that, who can step in kind of like a Sean McGuire was. Someone who knows they're not going to be starting snaps all the time, but who can step in that role, command the offense, and bring you down the field. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a Sean McGuire type, right?
Let's look at that. Do we agree on what Coach Mike will do at the end of spring? Do we agree that he will either not go after somebody and show loyalty to his inexperienced guys that he's recruited, or will he go out and get somebody? I'd love to have viewers, and I know this is our first program. We may have 0 viewers. We had 10. We don't really care. That's fine. If we hope viewers will come in and join us and put in a comment on that and join us in this conversation. So I'm asking you, will Coach Mike at the end of spring go to the portal and because you think guys are going to go into the portal after spring when they lose the battle? And do you think Mike thinks that? And do you think Mike will go after somebody?
That's the only chance I think they have at getting somebody, because there'll be cuts after spring ball. They'll see who goes through spring games, who's getting the majority of snaps.
And there'll be some film on those guys too out there.
Yeah. Teams will evaluate rosters. You'll see where you are on the depth chart. And Mike knows too. You won a combined 8 games over 2 seasons. You're not getting a starting caliber quarterback. You just can't. No guy.
Yeah, you may get a guy that wants to play. Why would he come to your school if he doesn't want to play?
I get that, but you're not getting a JT Daniels. You're not getting a star quarterback. You're not getting the guy from Spencer Rattler or from Oklahoma. You're not getting. He knew you could be in those battles. You could have those conversations, but realistically, one of those kids is not coming to Florida State.
Who's the guy that just went into the portal from Arizona State?
The guy that they actually recruited him out of high school. That's something you could talk to, but once again, he's going to get offers from some other big schools.
Not necessarily, because he was kind of on the way out there because he had a good freshman year, and then he hasn't done much.
There's drama with there's a lot of drama surrounding him. So someone they could talk to, but once again, it's a culture fit, stuff like that. So I think
he's like Jordan Travis. He's a runner more than a passer, so you don't want to bring another guy.
I think that's what you want too. It's is it the person going to be able to be sort of on the same a little bit on the same caliber deal, run the offense? Is it the same style, going to be able to run the offense if Jordan goes down? Because you don't want someone, I think it didn't work with McKenzie too, is because when McKenzie came in, he couldn't run the offense the same way. There was not that dynamic threat because he was just a statue back there. And we know
he was supposed to be a pocket passer.
We know that. And it didn't work.
He's too short.
Well, and he didn't have any arm strength anymore, and that didn't work. So I think you're not going to bring a guy in that's better than Jordan, because that you don't want to deal with that drama after spring. So you're not going to get them. First of all, there's not going to be any of those running around after spring.
You're saying they're not going to bring anybody in?
They are, but it's not going to be of the caliber better than Jordan. We know that. There's not going to be available. but you'll bring someone that's just below him. You're going to
That's
look
had
to
game experience. That's
that
had
has game experience, that can come in, has quality snap time, and then I think hopes mirrors the style of Jordan, who can have some of that running ability and has confidence running the offense that can learn it quickly. That's the thing. You need someone that can come in and learn the offense quick enough that can command the offense. Because if you have some dum-dum in there that literally can't pick up the offense quick enough, so I think you'll look to identify someone that runs a similar offense and can pick it up, because you don't have you 3 months once you pick this kid up to enroll and start going through fall practice, and then that's it. So it's not a lot of time, and you hope AJ Duffy picks up the offense quickly too, since he enrolled it early, that potentially he's picking up the offense really quickly too, in case something bad happens. But I think they go after someone in the spring with some high snap counts, and that's competent enough to pick up the offense quickly.
I think they're really. I agree with your assessment that they're going to bring somebody into that quarterback room. You know, they've got Tate, they've got AJ Duffy, and they've got a walk-on in there. I forget his name. Gino English.
Gino English, yeah.
Yeah, Gino English, who has really been a real teammate, good team player. I think he does a lot of the scout team stuff. But Gino English, he's 6'1", about 194. You've got AJ Duffy, who's 6'2", 223. Mike is pinning his hopes that AJ Duffy creates enough, razzle dazzle in the spring that gives him confidence. Now, if AJ Duffy, he's already enrolled.
They like him. Huh? They like him. They like him a lot.
If he comes in and starts showing right away, they may decide we're just going to go with AJ Duffy. Yeah. We're going to go all in on him as well. Okay. Yeah. And not upset this balance, because this portal thing, which we'll wait for another show. That's a whole different show. Yeah. I think they'll bring a guy in, like you say. I think they need to bring a guy in to have, to have that quarterback room good. Now, the question is, how do you recruit a guy out of the portal? What do you say to that kid to bring him in? What do you say to him?
Well, and I think that's a tough thing, is that you have to find the right person that's willing to not get a guaranteed shot. Because if you bring him in after spring ball, Jordan's already established as a starter then, and it's more of, you are going to be competing for the number 2 spot, because you're going to be competing with Tate and AJ, for that second spot. Because if you tell them, well, this guy's coming in, he's number 2 automatically, then you're going to piss off your backups. And you're telling, Travis, well, you're established, you've got it. So you got to find that right person that's saying you're competing for the number 2 spot. If this guy gets hurt, which, there is a little bit of history that says he will, you got the lead in for this to show what you've got. So you do have to find, you kind of have to find a guy that's been a career number 2, or a guy that's looking to redeem himself and say, I'm willing to work my butt off. I want to get my shot at a big program. So maybe someone who's, at a non-Power 5 school.
Give me your recruitment speech to this kid. You're sitting there with him and his parents. What are you telling him?
If I'm Mike. I have a history of developing quarterbacks at Memphis, at Arizona State. Let me teach you. Let me get you in a great strength and conditioning program. Let me have you, train behind Travis and, get you in this program. It depends how many years eligibility you have too. If this guy has 2 or 3 years, I could say, okay, you play 1 year behind Travis, 2 years behind Travis, then you have a shot to compete with AJ. It's just so tricky. It really depends.
Okay, but you're being honest with the kid. You're being honest with the kid.
Yes.
You're being honest with his parents to say, we've got our guy. We're going with him. I would say, just like you did, Jordan is a great guy. You're gonna learn a lot, but he is our guy going in. That's the truth. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's true. Here's the problem with Jordan. Jordan loves to run. He's very good at it. But when guys run, they get hurt. Get hurt. You have a chance to come in, compete for that number 2. Let's say his name's John. John, you have a chance to come in and compete at number 2, because you're one play away in the way Jordan plays to be number 1.
Yeah.
You're one play away, and that could be in the first game of the season. So you're stuck in a depth chart thing over here. You have a clearer path to the top here. Even though we're telling you, you're not going to be number one. You're not going to be the starter the first game. You may not be the starter for 12 games. But to be honest, there's going to be a point that our number 2 guy is going into the game.
Yeah.
You can be that guy. Now, that's how I would go after him. A total honest approach. And I obviously we look at the guys that are in there that might be receptive to that type of talk, and there will be guys there like that. Now the question is, are they Division I guys, or they are a guy that you might find who's not a Power 5 Division I guy? A Mackenzie Milton was not a Power 5 guy. Okay,
that's what I'd say.
There's a lot of those guys out there. There's a lot of those guys out there.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a guy at that non-Power 5 level, or someone like an Illinois guy in Illinois, or something at the smaller schools that has maybe 3 years of eligibility left, who can say, like you said, you're one play away from stepping in, or Travis has a great year, goes pro, and then you're competing for the number 1 spot the next year. You learn the system, you learn the playbook. Jordan has a kick-ass year. He goes pro, and they're competing directly with AJ Tate for the number 1 spot, and it's yours.
I think you're a little delusional that Jordan is going to have this year that's going to.
But that's the pitch. That's all about the pitch
right now. And I think Jordan. I love Jordan. I think this kid gives 110%. If he was here, I'd tell him that. But right now, when only 1 or 2% of guys go into the NFL and make it, he's not in that 1 or 2%.
But as an athlete, dynamically, he could play a different position than quarterback. He could play receiver.
That's tough to make that transition.
Guys do.
Who do you know that's done that?
There's been I not off the top of my head, but there's been a couple of guys that have made the transition from quarterback to receiver.
Very, very few.
I'm just telling you, it's possible.
Okay, very possible. But right now, Jordan's got 2 years left?
I think so. Yeah, 2 years.
He's got two years left, and I think he's going to push himself to really try to prove it and to stay healthy. I'm sure he's working his butt off in that weight room, and getting better. I think Jordan's biggest problem is his first instinct is to run the ball, is not to sit in that pocket and run the ball. If he can make progress this spring in sitting back there and not trying to break it out when he doesn't have to, and go down in his progressions, I think that's going to help him a lot to try to get to the next level and help him make this team better.
Yeah, I think he's gotten a lot better at that. I think it'll all come with the progression of the line. I think the line's getting a lot better. So, that's a whole nother discussion we can have. I think the line's getting a lot better. They brought the best line they've had in 10 years. So I think it's all a progression of that. But I think that'll be a wait and see kind of conversation.
Let's look at AJ Duffy. What is the reality of him coming in? The reality now of him coming in and being ready to be that number 2 guy if they can't bring a guy in, which they may not be able to bring the guy in, even if they want to. They're not just going to bring a guy in. If they can't get a guy they want, they won't bring him.
No, because they'll use that slot to bring in another defensive back or another defensive end or another receiver. They'll use that transfer spot for something else. So it's a valuable spot.
What do we know about AJ Duffy? Is he a pocket passer? Is he a runner?
He has the ability to run. That's the thing they like about him, is that he has the mobility to him, but he does stay in the pocket and he can roll out and throw the ball if he needs to. So he has that athleticism to him, and he had a really good week at the Under Armour because he played in that game, the Under Armour Invitational,
where they throw the ball.
Yeah. And they scouts said he was the best player there, even though he wasn't a top rank.
These guys know. Jordan knows. AJ Duffy knows. If he wants to get to the next level, he's got to put on tape. I can throw the ball down the field.
Yeah,
right?
that's what he's gonna be he's a passer. So yeah, it's
And that I can
he's a
live
true
to
freshman though.
recruit
The
him.
kid is what 18
Yeah,
years old, so
yeah,
he's gonna learn the playbook. He's a spring enrollee. It's great that he came in early, which is gonna help him out the most. If he wasn't coming to the
yeah.
fall, it wouldn't even be a discussion. But that he came in, I mean, even Jameson didn't start his freshman year, so it's not even it's any freshman quarterback, true freshman is very tough. Um,
Okay.
but
Okay. We'll see how he develops. We'll get to see a lot more of him during the spring here coming up.
yeah, in
And
the
then
spring
the
game.
spring game, he's going to get a chance to prove to
He's
prove
going to be
some of
number one,
his,
two in snaps. I guarantee he'll be number 2 in snaps
yeah,
by the spring.
he knows the situation here in the quarterback room as well. So now
Yeah,
let's look at Tate. Let's look at Tate.
it's not even.
What do
I
you
don't.
what do you tell what does Coach Mike tell Tate? What do you think Coach Mike has told Tate?
I honestly probably nothing. I don't. I don't think it's even worth discussing. I think we've seen
Well,
enough to know what he
yeah, I
brings.
think Tate is somebody's kid, so I think it's worth
I don't.
discussing.
I'm not dismissing it. I think it's like JJ Constantino. We knew what he had.
Yeah, yeah,
It's the
that's
same
another story.
situation.
Yeah, JJ Constantino, that
It's
is
I'm not,
another story.
it's nothing against him. I enjoy the ride, and he is like he doesn't need to transfer. He has a guaranteed scholarship.
Well, he doesn't
He's
want to
enjoying
play.
his.
He doesn't. You're saying he doesn't care if he plays.
I don't think he doesn't care if he plays. He's an athlete. He's competitive for a reason. But I don't think some kids transfer because they want to do this and that. I think he has his friends there. He's got a free ride. He can get his education, and then he'll be gone. I don't think he's looking to go pro. If he was, he would have transferred out to
No,
some
he's
school
not
to
going to
go
go. Yeah,
start.
he's not going
Exactly.
to.
I think he's got it set. I think he's got the right idea. Like, be the backup, practice, get my education, and then go be a pro in business, right? So I don't think I think he knows what he's got there, and I don't think it's to be a starter.
Is it fair? Is it fair if Coach Mike and the quarterback coach bring him in and say, "Hey, listen, Tate, we don't think you're going to play here. You're not going to get a lot of snaps here. Have you thought about dropping down a level, and
I think
seeking out other opportunities?" And
fair for them to say that, and it's fair with him to say, I don't give a shit, and I'm not
well, he
going.
could say that. No, he could say that, but
And I think he probably has. I think they've had that. I think they probably tried to say something like that, and I think he
wouldn't you
probably
want
said,
a coaching staff that says that to you and be honest with you and feedback?
yeah. I mean, yeah. But or maybe he just really works hard and he raises the floor of the room, and maybe he's a practice player who somehow it doesn't translate to the game. So maybe it's that.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
it
it
is
could
that
be.
thing.
Yeah, we're not here to rip
Yeah,
on him. We're just trying to give
no.
what from a fan's perspective what we've seen. Because
I heard
when he goes into the game, the fans don't have any confidence in Tate at this point.
no. From what
And
I've heard, he's one of the most athletic kids in practice. Like he can run. Like he's very athletic. It just doesn't. It hasn't translated to the
because
game.
the fans don't have confidence in Tate when he goes into the game, and it doesn't look like Tate has confidence in himself in the game.
Yeah, I mean, and he's been thrown into some difficult situations. It's not. I don't think the game plan's ever been built around him, so that's tough. I don't think he is the long-term plan. I don't think Mike's saying this is my guy. This is what I planned for. But I just don't think he'll ever be in the long-term plans. But there's also a reason he's not transferring. Whether it's get his education and then 1-year grad transfer somewhere. I don't know what his plan is, but he's here. And
well, some fans out there or maybe think, well, we spent way too much time talking about it, but we're talking about quarterbacks tonight, and we're going to go down through the list, and then you've got Gino.
I don't think
Gino English, who is basically just a walk-on and is doing a great job. He's working hard. All the quarterbacks are. We're not here to rip. You're not. I didn't play quarterback anywhere. You didn't play quarterback anywhere. So it's real easy for us to say how easy it is. It's not an easy job. They've got a lot to learn, and it's not easy. They don't know when they're going into the game. And if you have a terrible subpar offensive line for the last several years, you get beat up. So, I feel kind of bad for them all of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the line. I think the line's gotten better, so I think that's less than an excuse. I
Well,
think
we
there's
don't know
receiver
that.
issues.
Yeah, that's an
I've watched. I think the line's gotten better. So, and the running game has.
You
has
mean
been
last year you thought it got better?
Yeah, I think it. I mean, the running backs have been able to run. There's been more holes. The quarterbacks have had more time. There's less sacks happening.
On that,
But that's another
when
subject.
Cam Akers got drafted by the Rams, right, who is now a Super Bowl, put the ring on here.
Yeah.
Cam Akers, and when he got drafted, he came off a terrible FSU team.
Yeah.
And why do you think? I know the answer. Why do you think they drafted him?
Because he was able to carry that team to wins
Yeah,
single-handedly.
he was able to get nearly. I don't have the
He
number
kept
here.
Willie Taggart into a job
Yeah, but
for certain years. Like
I think he almost rushed that season when he got drafted. He almost rushed for 1,000 yards. Now, I'm not going to take time to sit here and look up the number.
Yeah.
He got 8, 9, 1,000 yards on a team that was horrible. And the offensive line was horrible.
he was taking a beating too. Like if he
terrible.
it was incredible he didn't transfer out.
But he never gave up. He
No.
never gave up. He never got hurt.
He ran for 1,000 yards his last season. Yeah.
Wow.
And averaged 5 yards per carry.
And the scouts out there said if this guy can run for 1,000 yards on that offensive line, and that's hats off to Akers.
Yeah.
Because he stayed in there.
Never complained.
He stayed in there.
Never
complained.
Yeah.
Never complained.
He was amazing.
And good for him. He got the ring, and good for him.
Yeah.
Really a decent guy.
That's off to him. Yeah. After the guy that recruited him left too, Jimbo left.
Who was that? Who recruited him?
Jimbo recruited him.
Oh, Jimbo. Yeah. Okay. Well, that can be another session down the road.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks. That to me is the nightmare scenario for Mike. And it would keep me awake. And I think Coach Mike just has to be honest with each one of them. And if he's going to go get a guy in a portable, he needs to tell the quarterback room say, I'm going to go get a guy. Here's his role. I think if you're honest with people respect that. They all know.
I think they are.
Huh?
I think they always are. I think his pitch is always, because when you're a 5-18, people, you can't really be anything else but honest because people aren't really going to care about you. So you have to be just straightforward. You can't paint a rosy picture, really. So.
I mean, and I think as long as he's honest with the kids he goes after and the kids that are there, if he's honest, that's all you can ask for. That's all you can ask for. And if he does that, I think he keeps the locker room together and he keeps the spirit together. Because last year we started out really good. We looked good at Notre Dame, with Notre Dame.
No, they started off really bad. Well, the game
lost a close one. Everybody said this is going to be a good team, and then we go on an 0-4 streak. 0-4, including a loss to Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
Which the wheels just fell off. The whole thing could have collapsed. But these kids we're talking about, and all the other kids we're going to talk about during the year, okay, they stayed in there and they worked. Yeah. So, given that, what else you got on quarterbacks?
That's it. No, I think that pretty much covers it. So, I mean, we'll probably recap this in the spring and see what happens after spring ball. Because we'll probably, we should do a part 2 of this after the spring game and see how they competed.
Yeah.
And then a third one come fall, because I'm sure there'll be potentially another quarterback that comes in, or rumors of who's coming in, because we'll see who gets cut after spring games, who's transferring, and then who's on the radar. So we'll have part 2 and part 3, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I think that it was good. We're isolating these groups when we look at them. We could discuss all kind of things. And let me just say this about quarterbacks, and we'll start to wrap this up for the evening. I've seen a lot of quarterbacks in this program in my lifetime. All right. I started listening to Florida State football on AM, FM. Well, no, it wasn't even FM. It was an AM transistor radio. Do you even know what a transistor radio is?
Yes.
It's a little pocket square radio with a little antenna. You put a little square battery in the back. Actually, as a kid growing up, I listened to Florida State games on radios, AM radios. There was no problem picking up any game you wanted. Okay. But today you can't even pick up a game, right? You got to subscribe. You got to be a paying member of Sirius or that or this or that. But we had a lot of good quarterbacks at Florida State University. Okay. We've hit a dry patch now. We've kind of hit a dry patch because when the program goes down, it's hard to bring them in. But the first great quarterback that was at Florida State University was here in the 1960s, late 60s. And I know you don't know who it is, correct?
No.
Okay. It was a guy named Steve Tenzi, Tensi, Tenzi. Steve Tenzi. All right. Now you can check that out there. Yeah.
I believe you.
You can do it. But Steve Tenzi, he was playing for Florida State, okay, at a time when college football wasn't throwing the ball around that much. But he came in under a coach, the first coach that everybody in this fan base should remember, but most people don't even know who he is. The first coach that put Florida State on the map because of the passing game was a coach named Bill Peterson. In the late 60s, Coach Bill Peterson. He had Steve Tenzi, and he had a receiver on that team. Have you ever heard of the Fred Biletnikoff Award from the NFL? Yeah, guess where Fred Biletnikoff played?
We know.
Okay. He played at Florida State, and Steve Tenzi was throwing him the ball. We remember Fred Biletnikoff. We don't remember Steve Tenzi. Without Steve Tenzi, there is no Fred Biletnikoff. Okay. But we had a tandem there that lit it up. And Coach Bill Peterson was the guy who came from many tours of being an assistant from some very famous coaches. In fact, one of them was called Air Coryell, who was a NFL coach, and he coached with them. So he goes way back. The rest of the history of Bill Peterson, which we'll get into someday, is an interesting story. It's kind of shocking in some ways. But when Bill Peterson left in 1969-70, Florida State goes through about three coaches, and I was there for those three coaches. We had one coach, Dr. Darrell Mudra. Guess where he coached? From the press box. He coached the game. I'm not kidding you. From the press box. He wasn't there long, like 2 years. He was done. This all leads up to, and of course, I go through this horror show. So when the young fans, millennium fans, your age say, "Oh, things can't get any worse," yes, they can, because I was there, and I think it was 72, 73. You check me on the facts if somebody's checking. 0-11, brother. 0-11. 0-11. I sat through most of those games. I watched all those games. I listened to those games if I wasn't there. It was horrible. And then that leads to who? Who do we bring in?
Bobby Bowden.
Bobby Bowden. That leads, because Bobby Bowden comes and says, "This thing's in the toilet. I can't do anything than these clowns." And he comes in, and the rest is history. But we've had some damn good quarterbacks here. Steve Tenzi, I can just name a few of them. Bill Kappelman, Jameis Winston, obviously. Who am I missing?
Charlie Ward.
Who?
Charlie Ward.
Who? Oh,
Charlie Ward.
Charlie Ward. Chris Winkie. All these guys.
Danny Cannell, Casey Wells, Brad Johnson, Christian Ponder.
Brad Johnson goes on to the NFL, wins a Super Bowl. Brad Johnson was a backup basically at Florida State, basically a backup when he gets drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. They drafted him on potential. But you know who was probably, I'd have to look this up, the only freshman to start for Florida State. Only freshman. You don't know. It goes back a long ways. Guy named Chip Ferguson. Look that up someday. Chip Ferguson.
What about Chris Ricks?
Nah, he didn't start as a freshman. He didn't start for
He was
Yeah, a
great.
lot of people don't like Chris Ricks.
I like Chris Ricks.
They thought he was erratic.
Because he was
You know?
California boy.
Yeah, he was kind of, he had that swagger, but sometimes he couldn't back it up. And then there was a quarterback, I can't remember his name. I'd have to look it up. He came out of Pennsylvania. This guy was #1 quarterback. Bobby Bowden was bringing him in. And he got hurt in a spring game and was never the same, never got his job back. I'll look his name up for one of our shows.
What year was he?
80s.
80s.
He came, but he never got the job back, and they turned him into a fullback. Actually, he got drafted in the NFL, and he played maybe a year with Dallas, as a blocking fullback. But at least he was playing, for the Seminoles. But he was going to be Mr. Everything. But when I was here during those big losing years, last story, we brought a guy in. He was a transfer from, not portal, because there was no such thing as a portal. He came in from Alabama, and I said, this guy's going to be good. He wasn't that good. We still lost a lot of games. But the program had a lot of problems. Brother, that's what I got for tonight. How the technicals held up here pretty good, huh?
Yeah, no, I think it went well except for when you froze in the first minute of the show when we tried to show a video.
What I did is I took myself out, put myself back in, but
yeah, we'll have to figure that out. But I think everything else went well. Thank you for
I had
everyone.
a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. We give the fans perspective here. We're going to ask some tough questions, and we're not going to skirt around them. And we hope more fans will join us. Whether we had one, maybe we had nothing. I don't know. But you got to start somewhere. And I had a good time. Hope you had a good time, KB. And we're going to continue to look at this roster as we get into spring ball here. And a lot of things will change. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And we'll talk about some other sports too. Basketball we'll save for another night. But I will say this as we sign off. They don't get a bid. No bid.
No, that's long gone.
No. And you know what? And here's what I don't like. Coach Ham's been known to bring in all these 7-foot giants. None of them can play.
Okay. Let's
leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. We're sticking to football all night, to quarterbacks. We hope we covered a lot there, and we'd love for you guys to join us on the program. And we had a good time. All right.
All right.
We done?
Thanks a lot, everybody. Take care.
Thanks a lot. We'll catch you again.